Yo, what up, folks? So we back at it again with another video by DJ Mobile Auto Services. Well, customer states that the vehicle is losing power and asks if we can assist the in getting the vehicle up and working again. So let's scan for codes and see what we get. Right. This is the second time I'm seeing this vehicle. The first time was, hold on real quick. Check this vehicle and a lot of the inputs, which is the map, the mass and stuff like that, a lot of oil leaks. So you know, we decide to bring the vehicle to the shop so we can properly assess it and you know, see what we get. Right, so they describe that they're losing power, especially going uphill. You know, so let's put the scan tool on it first and see what we get. Right, automatic scan. Let's go recently. Let's go on Kia. It's a Kia Sportage. I'm not sure, I can't remember the year that it was on this vehicle. Let's see if we could pick it up using the auto scan. Alright, 16 pin. Alright, so let's do automatic search. Let's see if we get anything or not. We have to put in the VIN. Alright, let's put in the VIN so we could accurately diagnose this vehicle. Alright, so the VIN number is always posted on the door on the driver, the passenger side. So we're just gonna make note of that. Just going back in the vehicle and scan for codes. They did mention that the engine light is on. Alright, so let's do a smart scan. Make sure my dongle is in. I saw that the ABS light is on also, so most likely it's probably a fault in the sensor. I'm not sure. Let's see. A full scan on this vehicle. See if I pick up anything, right? And then I'll be able to make a report. Always save your codes, right? Even if you clear it, make sure and save it first because that can also be used as a guide. Right? So let's do a report. Let's skip all that good stuff. Right now, I just want to save it. You can save it, email it to yourself, doesn't matter. Just make sure and do your due diligence and make sure and share it or save it somewhere where you can, you know, retrieve it later on if you need it. Right, so let's see what we get. 2014 Sportage SL Kia. Right, we getting vehicle speed sensor A range performance, and we getting an error. It's a P2563 error in the VGT actuator position feedback or this ECM control signal, right? So I'm gonna go after the two codes, right? But I'm gonna focus more on the P2563, which the error in the VGT, right? VGT means a variable guide turbo, right? Or geometry, sorry, variable geometry turbo actuator position feedback, or the ECM control sensor, signal, right? On this turbo, you have 4 wires going to it, right? I will have to get a wiring diagram to see what the 4 wires are and who controls what, whether it be a feedback, a signal for the actuator to move the motor, or if is it the a break in the harness. I'm not sure. As I said, I'm gonna do my homework on that. And the P0501, right? Vehicle speed sensor A range performance. Probably one of the speed sensors acting up, right? But let's go after that 2563 first and see what's up. All right, so let's come out of there. Let's go into ECM. I'm going into read data stream. Matter of fact, let's come back out. Let's go into read freeze frame and see when is it happening. All right, so this current here, freeze frame for the 2563. So basically, it looks like when the vehicle is not running, it's not even on, or key on, engine off, it looks like that's when it's triggered the code. Reason I can tell is my absolute throttle position and my mass airflow is saying 0, right? Barometric pressure is at where it's supposed to be. Calculated load is 0, meaning the vehicle is not running. The control module voltage at battery voltage. Engine coolant temperature 63 degrees, basically is nothing. RPM at 0. So basically the vehicle wasn't running when it triggered that code. So clearing the code won't solve it, so I gotta diagnose it first. Probably gotta get a wiring diagram, see what wires is going to the actuator, and verify if the ECU is sending the signal and getting the feedback, right? And if not, they will have to throw basically the actuator at it or the turbo, right? But before we throw any parts, we gotta diagnose the vehicle properly. Alright, so let's see. If we go into the variable swirl control actuator, no, that's not that. I need to see anything when it comes to the turbo. I wonder if it have like a special function or something like that when it comes to the turbo. Nothing. There's no data also. As a matter of fact, let's go into data. I look for anything when it comes to the turbo. Let's see. Anything with turbo. Come on, where are you? Nope. Oh, the VGT actuator, right, is at 79%. 79%. Does that mean? What does that mean? All right, cool. Let me pull up our wiring diagram. There's 4 wires going to this actuator, and I'm going to see who's who and what is what, and I'll be able to see if the ECU is sending signal or not. Then I'll make the call on either the turbo or the actuator. So the turbo is located right behind on the exhaust, right? Basically you're seeing the actuator where I got my back probe hooked up, right? So we have a motor that's in that solenoids in the actuator itself to move open and close the wastegate, right? And to move the guide vanes, and we're just going to do our checks, right? So while you're watching the camera, I got this next one set up here where you can, see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm on pin 1. Right now I'm getting, what's that? Basically 0 volts. Let's go to pin 2. Let's make sure I touched all the way in. Right, that's basically 0. The second pin, let's go into the second pin here. Second pin, I'm getting 12 volts. The third pin, I'm getting 7.5 volts. And I'm expecting to get ground on this one. No, I'm not. I'm getting 2 volts. So I would assume the power and the ground is the number 1, number 2, and the signal will be the 7 volts, and probably the feedback will be the 2 volt. So in fact, let's cycle this key off and see if our voltage will change. I'm going back on pin 3. Let's hook this back up here. I'm getting 7 volts here. Alright, so let's make sure this all the way in. I'm getting 7 volts in. So I got the scope hooked up on the actuator. So I'm gonna put the key on, engine off, and see, want to try and see what. In fact, let me set up my scope first before we do anything. Cause I want to catch when it, when I put the key on and see what's good. I don't expect the voltage to be high, so let's set it up first. Alright, so based on what I'm seeing here, I'm seeing some like glitching going on the signal wire, which is the second wire that I'm hooked up to, right? And that's supposed to be the positive wire coming out or coming to the DC motor of the actuator, right? The blue is the negative, right? I believe the ECU would power those things on, and the green is the signal in, and the yellow is the signal out. So that can explain why this actuator is glitching, where probably the ECU is sending out the voltage to move the actuator or the motor, and he's not performing, or he did do something, and whatever he did, it didn't correspond and send the proper feedback to the ECU. So it is possible that this actuator is having trouble, but what I'm going to do is take it off. I'm going to get it to the guys who handle my turbo for me work, and see if they can put it on there. They have like a little setup, right, a Delta Tech or something like that, where they could check your actuator and check the resistance and stuff like that, see if it fails. I'm gonna take it to them and see if they could, give me a definite answer and let me know if the actuator is bad or not. But from what I'm seeing here, it looked like the motor part of the actuator is glitching for some reason. I'm gonna ask the client if I can, keep the old one, where I can like take it apart, and see what it is or how it looks inside. It's basically a board, right? And I believe it will have a DC motor, like turning the gears and back and forth, similar to the actuator that I had diagnosed a few months back on a Toyota Hilux, right? They have an actuator in the back to move the high, low, and the high for the transfer case. I remember that one, right? So I'm gonna put that link in for that video in this one also, right? So they're using these little small DC motor to like with gears to move back and forth to actuate what they need to, have in position, and probably this one just decide to fail, right? So yeah, let's take it to get tested and see what happens. Right, it's moving free, and this will key off, engine off. So I don't want to think that it has any like soot that's holding back the veins or restricting the veins from moving. It's moving pretty easy. Let me see if I can get you go close up. Put the light. Alright, so we're watching this link here. I'm moving it fairly easy. So I'm going to go after the actuator has an issue, as I said, but I just need to verify that is it the signal that's the signal is there from the ECU and is not the actuator, not the ECU itself. Alright, so we got to go after that wheel speed sensor for the front. So we got a C1200. Let's go into the read data stream, and we're going to look for the wheel speed sensor. Pick these, press OK. Right, they're all saying 0 right now. So we're going to record and watch to see if the top one is moving. Let me just put the hood down. So is it that there is a short in the harness, and it could be from higher up. I'm gonna just go in reverse again. So we're gonna go after that wheel speed sensor. So I'm seeing that all is moving except for the left front. Right, the ABS light is on. So just like every ABS fault that comes in the shop, what I do, I jack the vehicle up and I go on the opposite wheel and I spin it by hand, or while someone's spinning, I watch the scan tool and see what's going on. So no one's here in the shop right now, so I'm gonna show how I do it. I jack the wheel up so both sides off the ground. I'm watching the speed sensor while I'm turning the opposite wheel, and you're seeing that I'm getting movement off the right. So what that say? The speed sensor is reading properly, right? You see that it's moving every time I turn it. So we're gonna do the same thing on the left, right? But I already took it for a drive, so I was able to determine that it was faulty. So we got it replaced, right? And that should solve that, right? But it also said it had an open and a short, and by examining under the fender wheel here, it looked like, I'm not sure if like something probably pulled and tugged and could have like damaged the harness, right? So I gotta use the scope, use my what you call it, signal generator, put some signal in there and watch the scan tool. Right, so we got the actuator off from the turbo. As I said, it's right behind. It's just held with 4 bolts after you remove the exhaust. Right, we also have the ABS off to get also. Right, and once you get this test, as I said, there's a DC motor right here. Right, 4 pins, so most likely it will be a feedback and a signal to when to move this. The vanes for the turbo is moving free with no restriction, right? So most likely it had to be this actuator that's backing up. Right, so let me just get it test, and if we gotta replace it, we replace it, and that's it. I'll redo my test after the scope and see if any of the signals is dropping off.
1 hour later.
Yeah, so I just got my hands on the parts, right? This is the actuator. I'm not sure if it's OEM. They say it's OEM, right? But even if it's aftermarket, I can't do anything about it. I gotta use it anyway. Just gotta. I was told that you have to use the correct number, that 28235. That have to be corresponding to the one that I removed. And in the blue box, I have the ABS, right? Left hand ABS for the front speed sensor, right? So as I said, this number has to correspond to what I'm seeing on this unit. Yeah, but the actuator off, right? I was able to just, see if the guide vanes is moving like it's supposed to, and we just gonna pop back on this actuator. It's 4 screws, as I said earlier, right? These to put on. I'm just gonna verify my fix and see if it works, right? But this is the actuator, the new actuator putting on, and we're gonna just do a relearn. You gotta let the ECU know that you're putting on the new actuator and see what happens. Right, so this is the actuator right here. Right, so it has some clips that holds these together, and you have a basically a gasket, right? So it's supposed to be sealed properly with this rubber gasket. And these are the 4 pins that we see when we unjack from this the harness on this side, right? As I said, you gotta make sure you get the same number that's written here, 283, whatever number is written here. You gotta see if you get the same actuator, right? So here's the 4 pins. Right, so let's see how it's like this. So this is a board, and this is the gears for the actuator. We're just going to take these apart. Let me see if it's hard to take off. Right, let me just take this off. So on this side, this is a DC motor that gets power and ground, right, to basically move it, right. This first pin, which was the blue signal wire that I had on, was a negative, the red was a positive, the green is an in, signal in, and the yellow is a signal out, right? So what will happen is the ECU will send power through these 2 pins to power this DC motor, right? And based on what it does, it would he would send a signal in to tell, like, that the turbo vanes basically know what position is in, and then he will send a signal back out to let the ECU know where he at, so he could manage basically manage the system better, right? And he also used in conjunction the map sensor, right, to figure out where he's supposed to be, right? So when you turn this is where the link disc be hooked onto the turbo, right? So I just decided to take it apart a little bit, show you what's inside the actuator. This is the electrical type. It also has a vacuum type, the old school ones, and yeah, straight to the point, right? So let me get you back to the video. Right, so with the actuator installed, I'm gonna put the scan tool on and basically clear the codes that's on this vehicle. So let's get that done. Key on. Alright, so we're going to do a full scan. Alright, so on the ESP, I believe I had the left front speed sensor, the P05 whatever code, and I had the ECM had some faults on it too for the actuator, right? So let's see what it is and delete them. As I said, the parts was replaced, right? That's the part number if you want it for the actuator, and I believe this one is the one for the, and this one is for the ABS. Alright, so let's speed this up. Alright, so with key on, engine off, right, we're going to just hook up the scope so we can, I got the Pico 7 up and running, so I'm just gonna just do some checks and no measurements, pull my yellow down, let's see what I'm getting. Matter of fact, let's start the vehicle up and I'm put some more time on the screen. I'm gonna start the vehicle up and see how the actuator is performing. Alright, so let's open the door. We have no check lights on. Alright, you can switch off and we can go and just analyze this waveform and just confirm our fix, and that should be it. Right, so the blue is negative. Let me see if I can just open this up a little bit. Right, so blue is negative, which is ground. Red is my supposed to be power. Where red is? Right, let's see what red is. So red is, no, that's ground also. So red is ground. And how much is this? This is ground also. I'm not sure what that is about. The green is at a ground too, and the yellow is making at least battery voltage. So is it that I gotta, let's start it back up again, and I'm gonna step on the X and see if that make a difference. Alright, we just want to see if by me stepping on the X made a difference. Alright, so let's go back a little bit and let's see what the ECU is doing in the beginning. Is he sending the command, or is this, I believe this is the feedback. So the yellow is the feedback, and as you can see on the blue, he sent out like 5 volts. Right, the green is a minus, like I said, I'm not sure what that is, and the red. So before, the last time when we had the capture up, we saw that the red was dropping out, right, and like the DC motor was having issues, where this one is more uniform. This is probably the signal in and out, off and on, right? Bonus feature, open up the old actuator, right? It's 4 pins, right? So in here it has the DC motor, right? Basically a basic DC motor, right? I will believe that they have a positive and negative, which we are seeing on the screen represent the blue and the red, right? So the blue is the, from the pin out, the blue is the negative and the red is the positive, and the signal in is the green, and the signal out, which is the ECU feedback, is the yellow. So this was the one I was supposed to be watching when the, I was having problem with the old one that was originally on. So like probably the voltage was dipping and the feedback wasn't going back to the ECU to create that boost, so the ECU know the position to of the guide vanes, right? So yeah, we're gonna call our fix. As I said, I'm not sure if I want to take this apart some more. You know me, always going beyond. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. Until next time, take it easy.